Chapter 1. Have you ever felt that pain when you're sitting in front of a computer screen, eyes fixed on every movement of the charts, your heart beating fast, and the next moment all your hopes are crushed by a red candle? Intraday trading, as fast and attractive as it sounds, is in reality just as lonely, terrifying, and mentally exhausting. Each day is a battle with yourself, with the market, and with the decisions you make without thinking. But is trading truly just a game of technical analysis, chart patterns, or some secret indicator? Or is it a psychological battle of our thoughts, our emotions, and our inner peace? In this first chapter, the author places us just outside the door where the real truth of trading lies. It's where the dream of earning money begins, but at the same time, there is also the fear of losing oneself. Every trader makes the same mistake at the beginning. They think that understanding the market means knowing the language of candles or catching the fastest breakout. But the reality is, no matter how many strategies you learn, if your mindset isn't prepared, you will be stuck in the same cycle over and over again. Greed, fear, regret, and then the same mistakes again. The author teaches us that intraday trading is not just about reading the market, but about reading yourself. Have you ever asked yourself these questions? Why do I keep making the same mistakes? Why can't I maintain discipline? These questions seem frightening, but this is where the real change begins. The first lesson of this chapter is that the market is always right, but are you just as honest with your decisions? In trading, your greatest strength is not an indicator, but your ability to think. The author tells us that before starting intraday trading, it's essential to ask yourself 3 questions. Can you accept defeat without breaking down? Can you focus on making the right decisions instead of just earning money? Can you maintain your peace of mind when things don't go according to your plan? But just think, does the market care about your emotions? Has it ever happened that you took a trade out of anger and it became profitable? And even if it did, have you paid the price for repeating that habit? Here, the author says that a successful trader is one who understands their mental state. They know that not every trend is worth following, and not every drop hides an opportunity. As you move forward on this journey, you learn that no trade is also a trade. Staying quiet, waiting, and only entering when all the factors align, that is true discipline. Trading is not fast food. It is a meditation. You must control your greed, recognize your emotions, and make a promise to yourself every day, I will not lose myself in today's market. Another mistake new traders repeatedly make is that they follow every signal, act on every piece of advice, and don't create their own system. But have you ever thought that if the system isn't yours, the mistake won't be yours either? And when the mistake isn't yours, how will you learn? This is why the author repeatedly emphasizes one thing. Create your own trading journal. Write down every trade and understand the thought process behind it more than the win or loss. This is the practice that turns a new trader into a professional.
Do you know that a successful trader asks themselves one question before every trade? If this trade was my last one, would I take it exactly as I am taking it now? This question reveals the greed and fear within you. This chapter is a warning, but at the same time, an inspiration. Here, the author holds a mirror up to you. They say that until you know yourself, the market will keep deceiving you. And this self-awareness only begins when you accept that your biggest enemy is no one else but the person you see in the mirror every morning. Chapter 2. Have you ever wondered where that fear comes from when you get nervous before taking a trade? That fear that makes your hands tremble, your heart beat faster, and your thoughts cloudy? Is that fear really related to the market, or is it a reflection of your past defeats? In the second chapter, the author takes us to that invisible web where every trader gets caught at some point, the web of emotional overload. In intraday trading, making decisions requires not just technical charts, but also mental stability. If you can't understand the conversation going on in your mind, the noise outside will shake you. Have you ever heard your inner voice? What if this trade fails? I have to recover the loss. I must make up for yesterday's loss today. None of these thoughts work in trading. The author says, when you try to prove something, you keep losing. This chapter uncovers the trader's journey where they lose their identity. Whenever a trade goes wrong, a question arises. Am I a good trader? But here, we must stop and understand ourselves. The author reminds us, your single trade is not proof of your worth, and your defeat is not a stamp of your failure. Trading is a game of mental endurance. This is why the author emphasizes two things here. The first is risk management, and the second is the sanctity of the system.
Risk management means determining how much you can lose before every trade, and then staying within that limit. But what do people often do? This trade will surely work, I'll risk a bit more, I'll lower the stop loss a little. This is where the monster of loss is born. Just think, if you keep changing your stop loss, your system will lose its importance. The author says that a trader's strength is in their discipline, not their intuition, because intuition often comes from emotions you have never understood. A very important point that comes up in this chapter is, do not link trading to need. When you make trading your last hope, I have to run the household this month, I have to pay the EMI, I have to pay my daughter's fees, you trade with emotions, and that business never lasts. The author teaches us how every professional trader keeps their mind detached. They see every trade as a data point, not an emotion of life or death, because a good trader never fights the market. They understand it and flow with it. This chapter gives us a deep lesson. Trading is not just a way to earn money, it is a discipline of self-control. A very powerful quote from the author is, "You cannot read the charts until you learn to read your own emotions." So recognize the battle within you. When you trade without a stop loss, it's not the market but you who gives up on yourself. In this world of trading, only those people survive who win over themselves. Many times traders think, if I just get one good trade, everything will be fine. But in search of that one good trade, they lose themselves. The author says it only comes when you stop searching for a good trade and start making good decisions. And that happens when you accept that your trades are not your identity. Your thoughts, your discipline, and your stability are your true strength. At the end of this chapter, one thing becomes very clear. If you want to win over the market, first learn to fight with your own mind, because that is the real market.
Chapter 3. Have you ever thought that when you open the charts every morning, are you truly reading them, or are you just seeing what you want to see? In the third chapter, the author takes us to that invisible layer where most traders' logic ends and hope begins. This chapter introduces us to the part of trading that very few people understand: confirmation bias. That is, the lie we repeat to ourselves over and over so that our opinion is proven correct. The author says, to win in trading, you have to see the chart as it is, not as you want to see it. But what happens? We see the RSI and think, oh, it's oversold. Now it will go up. We see the MACD crossing. This is the opportunity. Volume spikes. A breakout is now confirmed. And then the stop loss is hit. The heart breaks. Trust in the system is lost, and the poison of self-doubt slowly spreads in the mind. Here, the author teaches us that reading a chart is an art, and the first condition of that art is emotional detachment. Before you learn to trust the indicators, you must learn to trust yourself. Have you ever wondered why 90% of traders fail despite so many indicators? It's because their eyes are on the charts, but their focus is on their fear greed, and hope. In this chapter, the author describes the foundation of a trading system in a very simple but extremely powerful way. He says, if you don't create your own system, you are trading with someone else's emotions. So how is the trading system created? The author tells us that 4 things are essential for a strong system. Entry criteria, when to enter and why. Exit criteria, when to exit and how. Risk management, how much capital is at risk. Mind management, what will be your reaction if the system fails? These things sound easy to hear, but have you really tested your strategy? Or do you repeatedly chase new setups, hoping that next time everything will change? The truth of trading is, consistency comes when you test one system 100 times, not 100 systems once. The author says very clearly here, the market will test your system again and again, and it will repeatedly see whether you stick to your rules. This is the point where a losing trader and a winning professional become different. The loser gets scared and abandons the system, and the professional sticks to it with more firmness. Have you ever written your trading journal? The author in this chapter repeatedly reveals the power that is hidden in journaling. Every entry, every exit, every emotion, everything must be written. Because when you write, you think, and when you think, you learn. A very important topic that comes up in this chapter is the importance of backtesting and paper trading. Many times people think that learning happens only through real trading, but the author says that when you test a system with only logic and no money, you understand the soul of that system. Many new traders say, I learn in the live market. But just think, does any soldier go to war without practice? Does any surgeon perform an operation directly without practicing hundreds of times? So how can you enter the market without testing your system?
The author repeatedly reminds us, trading is a business, not a lottery. And if you don't run it like a business, it will swallow your capital just like fire consumes wood. The deepest point of this chapter is probably this. There is a peace before every successful trade and an unrestlessness before every failed trade. Have you ever felt that unrestlessness where you have entered a trade but inside a fear is sitting that it might be wrong? This is the moment where the author teaches us that our emotions are also an indicator. If you look carefully, every signal exists within yourself. So now the question is, are you learning trading or just blaming the market? Have you really chosen your own system, or are you just following a tip from a YouTube video? This chapter confirms that success begins when you ask yourself the question, who am I as a trader, and am I really ready to take on the responsibility that a system demands? Because the market will give you opportunities, but the decision is up to you. Are you ready to be worthy of that opportunity? Chapter 4. Do you know what the most dangerous trade is? It's not the one that results in a loss, but the one that suddenly gives a profit without a plan. Because from there begins the journey of that illusion where overconfidence is born, which slowly dulls our thoughts and pushes us into the fire we created ourselves. Many times, a trader after 2 or 3 consecutive successful trades starts thinking, now I understand everything. I can do this. This market is for me. But this is where a thin crack is created, which later becomes the cause of a big accident. The author says, every trade is an independent event. Previous wins do not guarantee future success. Here he reminds us that the first rule of professional trading is every day is new and every trade is a risk.
So what should be done so that we don't fall into the trap of that fake confidence? First and foremost, it is essential to revisit your trading logic repeatedly, because with time, we start loosening our rules. Before, we used to buy when the RSI was below 30, now we enter at 40. Before, we used to wait for volume. Now we say, oh, the sentiment is positive, that's enough. We think this change means we have learned, but in reality, we have lost discipline. In this chapter, the author says a profound thing. The most difficult thing in trading is to do nothing when you want to do everything. Think, when the market is sideways and there is restlessness inside you, something should happen. That's where the real test is. Can you bear that silence, or will you do what 90% of people do? Here, the author makes us aware of the dangers of overtrading. Many times, just for fear of missing out on an opportunity, we try again and again without a signal or logic, and each time a new loss breaks our trust in the system. But have you ever stopped to think about the real reason for overtrading? Are you really looking for an opportunity or just trying to fill an inner void? Here, the author says in simple but accurate words, if you are bored, don't trade. Trading is not a way to remove boredom. It is a process that demands discipline. Now comes revenge trading. When there is a big loss and we jump into another trade right after it, just in the hope that maybe this time we will recover? But have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why am I taking this trade right now? Is it a decision based on my plan, or an action taken out of anger and frustration? A trade taken with emotion and hope is an enemy of your capital.
So what is the solution? Here, the author teaches us 3 deep habits: pre-trade checklist, a few questions before every trade, is the setup clear, is the risk clear, am I emotionally neutral, trade breaks, stopping after 1 or 2 losses, taking a breath and walking away from the charts, and self-talk, conversing with yourself, recognizing your fears, greed, and restlessness, and bringing them back to reality. These habits may sound small, but these are the tools that enable a trader to fight with themselves. The author says, success in trading does not come when you conquer the market, but when you learn to handle yourself. And finally, the most important sentence of this chapter: a trader's greatest strength is in doing nothing. But if you can master the stability within yourself, then even if the world turns upside down, your system, your discipline, and your calm mind will separate you from the crowd that just gets lost in the noise. Chapter 5. You open charts every day, see the same candles on the same screen, which sometimes give hope and sometimes fear. But have you ever felt that you are stuck in the same pattern, the same mistake every day, a new beginning every day, but repeatedly the process of self-harm that we unknowingly repeat again and again? The author asks, have you ever deliberately harmed yourself? Probably not. But when you move your stop-loss, trade without logic, regret every trade, isn't that self-harm? The author here tells the story of a real trader, a person who adopted new strategies every month, believed every YouTube video, but every time the result was the same: loss. Why? Because his fight was not with the market, but with his own emotions and impatience. In this chapter, the author explains in depth that success in trading is not about finding the perfect setup. It is about finding inner stability. And this stability comes from a daily routine. Trading is not just about sitting in front of a screen and pressing buttons. It is a mental battle for which you must first prepare yourself. The author mentions 3 very important rules that every successful trader adopts. 1. Pre-market preparation. Every day, write in a journal about what news is in the market today, what levels are important, and what your mental state is. Because trading without preparation is like sailing a ship without a map in the ocean. 2. Mindful breathing before entry. Take 10 deep breaths before every trade. It may sound small, but the author says, if you do not calm your mind, the market will snatch away your peace. 3. Post-trade analysis. At the end of the day, write 3 things: what you learned, what mistakes you made, and what can be done better tomorrow. This habit slowly brings about a change in your thinking. Chapter 5 also teaches us that stop loss is not just a way to avoid loss, but a way to keep your mind in control. When you set a stop loss, you make a mental agreement that I cannot get emotionally involved beyond this. And this is the discipline that saves you from breaking down. But many people say, I had a stop loss, yet I lost. The author asks, did you accept that stop loss with your heart, or did you just put it on out of obligation? Because when you do not accept a limit with your heart, it remains just a number. In this chapter, the author introduces us to another important concept: mental fatigue. Many traders say,
I sat in front of the screen all day. No good setup came. But have you ever thought, when the brain is tired, it loses clarity. It cannot see danger, it cannot catch signals, and it considers an opportunity as a danger. For this reason, the author says, every trader should give their brain rest in the same way that a player gives their body. Therefore, it is important that you limit screen time, plan trades, and give your mind space to think.
The author gives a simple but powerful formula in this chapter. Pause, prepare, perform. Before every trade, stop, prepare, then act. Not the other way around as most people do. Perform, panic, post-mortem. And when you adopt this formula, you slowly come out of that self-destructive process you are unknowingly living in. The author leaves a question for the reader. Do you really want to succeed in trading? Or just want to be associated with that feeling where you're trying to do something big? Because if you really want to succeed, then you must first become the person who can break the pattern created by yourself. Trading is not a technical journey. It is a deep inner practice, where to win, you must first fight with yourself, and then a new habit, a new pattern, and a new trader slowly takes birth inside you. Chapter 6. Have you ever felt that silence when you have lost a trade and the sound of your own breathing is heard loudly while sitting in front of the screen? No one is saying anything, but there is a noise inside you. I have failed again. I can't do it. In the 6th chapter, the author takes us to that place where a trader's self-esteem is built or broken. This chapter reveals the deep connection between self-worth, self-talk, and trading. The author says, loss in trading is a process, but the feeling associated with loss is a trap. Many traders attach loss to their self-worth. They feel, if I am losing repeatedly, then I am weak, I am a failure, I'm not worthy of trading. But what is the truth? The truth is that no system is 100% correct. The truth is that every professional also loses. The truth is that your value is not determined by your trades, but by your attitude.
The author says, a successful trader is one who separates their loss decisions from their human value. They understand that a loss is a data point, not a judgment. Here we are taught the art of self-talk, or talking to oneself. Because whenever you say to yourself, I am stupid, I made a mistake again, I can't do it, you are programming your brain for defeat, for fear, and for escape. The author gives us an exercise. After every trade, write a line, I made this decision with XYZ logic. Whatever the result, I acted with discipline. This one simple sentence slowly brings about that change inside you that takes you from instability to stability. Now comes the topic of fear of missing out, or FOMO. The author says FOMO is that trap where every trader gets caught, because somewhere inside we want to prove ourselves better, faster, smarter than others. But have you ever thought, when you take a trade out of FOMO, that trade is not yours. It belongs to that crowd who never know themselves. The author makes it clear here. Going slow in trading is not defeat, but it is the fastest way to self-control. We have all seen that time when a stock is running up fast and we think, if I don't get in now, the opportunity will be gone. And when we get in, it starts to go down. The author defines this situation very accurately. Your reaction determines whether you are trading or just playing with emotions. Another powerful aspect of this chapter is the comparison trap, that is, measuring yourself by the success of others. You saw someone's P&L on Instagram. Someone tweeted, "Today I made 10,000 profit in 2 hours," and you think, why can't I do it? But the author reminds us, you do not know how many years that person spent, how much loss they endured, and how much mental stress they took. You are only seeing their success, not their struggle. So it is important to accept your own journey. Celebrate every small change, every discipline, every mental victory. The last part of this chapter is about the process of rebuilding self-confidence. The author says, the next time you lose, just ask yourself one question. Did I do what my system said or what my emotions said? If you acted according to the system, then you are winning.
whatever the result, because the real victory in this journey happens when you do not break down even after losing, but get up again with a new thought, a new resolve, and a new strength. Chapter 7. Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why do I trade? For money? For freedom? Or for that emotional feeling that every green candle gives? In the 7th chapter, the author puts us in front of a question that every trader should ask themselves. What is your purpose? This chapter is a mirror that clearly shows our desires, illusions, and real needs. Trading is not just a process of earning money, it reflects your life's purpose. And if the purpose is not clear, the path will always be unclear. The author tells us, whenever you sit in front of the screen, you are just causing an accident. Some friend made a profit, someone said that you can make quick money from day trading, and we also jump in. But have you ever asked yourself this question? Am I mentally prepared for this field? In this chapter, the author tells the story of a trader who traded continuously for a year, but got neither profit nor satisfaction. He tried every strategy, read every indicator, but from the inside, he became hollow. Why? Because he did not even know what he was looking for. The author asks us to do an exercise here. Write your trading purpose in one sentence. If you cannot do this, then every trade will be just a coincidence, not a well-thought-out decision.
When you know your purpose, you also start to recognize your limitations. Then you can stay away from those trades that are outside your strategy, and not just jump in because the opportunity seems good. A very important topic comes up in this chapter: lifestyle design for a trader. The author says, your mind is not just a machine that runs 24/7, because a tired mind can never think patiently. And when you are tired, you either enter too early or hold a trade for too long. Both situations are harmful. So the author teaches, your life's routine is not limited to just looking at charts. It also includes yoga, meditation, proper sleep, and limited social media time. More than profit, here the author gives us a mantra: detach to grow. When you stop being attached to trades, you can understand them better. When you separate yourself from the result, you can make better decisions. And when you stop trying to control the market, you learn to flow with it. This chapter is also a warning that if you do not understand your why, then trading will only bring imbalance and fatigue into your life. But if you know why you are here, then whether the market goes up or down, you will not lose your direction. If you believe a trader needs not just a chart, but consciousness. So the next time you are about to take a trade, just ask yourself one question. Does this trade align with my purpose? Or is it just calming my restlessness? Because at the end of the day, the biggest difference between a losing and a winning trader is not what trade they took, but why they took that trade. Chapter 8. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to do nothing. When a new candle is being made every second on the screen, there is noise everywhere, restlessness everywhere. Can you maintain that peace that a true trader holds within themselves? The 8th chapter talks about that mental milestone, the waiting game. That is, the power of waiting. The author says, the art of earning money in trading is not in making quick decisions, but in patiently waiting for the right moment.
But in today's day, when we want everything fast, food with one click, movies with one click, and returns with one click, the slow pace of trading makes us restless. Because here you have to sit and watch, just watch and do nothing. Can you watch one candle after another being made without touching any temptation? The author says restlessness is not a process, but a training to actively do nothing. In this chapter, he talks about a mental framework which he calls syntax. It is that state where a trader does not act out of fear or greed, but from the clarity of the opportunity. For this, the author advises adopting 3 mental pillars. 1. Whenever the mind says, "Hurry up now," stop. It is not necessary that every move is for you. The author says most big mistakes happen from that now or never feeling. 2. Neutrality over excitement. Whenever a setup seems too perfect to you, be careful, because excessive excitement gives birth to one-sided thinking. A professional trader sees every opportunity as a possibility, not a guarantee. 3. Patience over performance. You haven't made a big profit in a week. That doesn't mean you are a failure. The author says the real victory happens when you let go of the wrong opportunity, and you can only do that when you let go of the greed for performance. This chapter takes us to a new dimension, mental minimalism, where the mentality of trading is not see more, think more, understand more, but it is just take what is visible, leave the rest. Many traders get confused by looking at the same chart again and again. Then they open YouTube, watch Telegram signals, and scroll Twitter. But the author asks, do you know that too much information can confuse you? So he says, know 5 good setups, but understand them deeply. Do not get entangled in 50 signals.
Another very valuable point in this chapter is your best trade is the one you did not take. Often, people who do 5 or 6 trades in a day think they're active, but they're just tired soldiers fighting on a battlefield without any strategy. Here the author teaches us a simple habit. Every morning, just ask yourself this question. If I have to take only 1 trade today, am I ready now? This question changes your focus. You start looking for quality, not quantity. The final message of Chapter 8 is clear. The ones who win in the market are not the fastest, but the calmest. Those who maintain peace in the crowd, who do not jump in every signal, who wait and strike only when the time is right. Because in the end, trading is a mirror, that mirror that shows us our own reflection, our hopes, our impatience, our fear, and above all, our ego. Chapter 9. The 9th chapter points to the most hidden enemy of trading, which most people do not even recognize, ego, that is, our I. The author says the biggest loss in the market happens when you do not want to give up, just because you think you cannot be wrong. In the beginning days of trading, when a trade goes against us, we quickly get out of it because we are afraid that money will be lost. But when a little experience comes, the idea of I cannot be wrong comes to mind. And from here, a trader's downfall begins. The author says many traders do not get out of a trade even after facing a loss because they feel it's just going wrong now. I am right. The market is wrong. And everything starts to sink in this I. Have you ever heard yourself say this? I spent so much time on this stock, now it will definitely go up. I have done so much research, how can this be wrong? So many people are saying bullish, then how can I be wrong?
The author highlights a point here. The market does not care about your research, it will move at its own pace. And if you stick with it, it will crush you. In this chapter, the author says another deep thing. The desire to be right is the biggest loss. The real game of trading is not about being right, but about being profitable. And many times, even when we are right, we lose because we do not get out in time. Again, many times, even when we are wrong, we make money because we manage the risk. So the question is, do you want to be right in trading? Or do you want to survive? Because these two do not always go together. In this chapter, the author also emphasizes re-entry and reanalysis. Many times a trader enters when there is a reaction from a level, but if the market breaks it, he is not ready to accept that his analysis was wrong. He tries to forcefully prove his thought correct. But the author says, you have to update your thinking with every new candle. It cannot be held like stubbornness. Here the author teaches us an exercise, the 3 whys exercise. In every trade, why? In this chapter, the author also highlights some lies that traders tell themselves. If I wait a little longer, a reversal would come. Just let the breakout be confirmed once. This time, I will trade with double the amount, the previous loss will be covered. He who can accept that he was wrong, who can see his mistake as data, not as his identity. The author says, great traders are not emotionally detached, they are aware of their emotions. That is, they do not destroy their emotions, but they recognize them and then learn to manage them. The deepest message of this chapter is, all your rows can be wrong. When you learn to accept this truth, you can turn every loss into a lesson, every loss into an investment. Because this is the ultimate test of trading. Can you tell yourself the truth, even if it is bitter?